In the quiet residential streets of Sketty, Swansea, a man named Alan lived an outwardly ordinary life. He was a man in his late 40s, who shared a home with his younger wife Helen and appeared to many as just another neighbor going about his days. Alan treated himself and his family to a string of holidays across the UK. There were weekend getaways to the beaches of the south coast, longer stays in scenic Dorset, and leisurely trips exploring the countryside. He even bought a spacious caravan, a mobile home on wheels that became their private getaway vehicle. Parked in Dorset when not in use, it symbolized Alan's success, a rolling symbol of the life he'd built. Thing is, Alan didn't work and couldn't possibly afford that lifestyle. What lay beneath that ordinary facade was a calculated scheme that would shock the local community and make headlines far beyond Wales. It began with greed. First, he claimed to be disabled due to a fabricated garage door injury. This was said to support his benefits claim, and later used to evade justice. Then, in the early 2010s, Alan turned his attention to his elderly next-door neighbor, an 86-year-old man called Ivor who was suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Over time, Alan gained Ivor's trust. Exploiting his vulnerability, Alan began siphoning money from his bank account. This ultimately led to the theft of over £41,000, roughly $64,000, through forged checks, the theft of ISA savings, and also included the attempted forging of a will to make himself the sole beneficiary. Ivor's life savings were drained away whilst he remained unaware of the betrayal happening right beside him. Caregivers ultimately noticed the missing money and informed the authorities. The police opened an investigation and Alan was charged with multiple counts of theft, fraud, and forgery. A trial loomed at Swansea Crown Court. For most, this would be the moment of reckoning. For Alan, it became the cue for an audacious new act. Rather than face justice, Alan and his wife Helen devised an extraordinary plan. He would simply become too ill to stand trial. Not just ill, catastrophically, irreversibly incapacitated. Starting around 2012, Alan began presenting himself as a quadriplegic, paralyzed from the neck down, subject to violent seizures that left him in a persistent vegetative state or deep coma. He claimed mystery neurological episodes had struck without warning, rendering him helpless. The performance was elaborate. When police, court officials, doctors, or any figures of authority approached, Alan lay motionless in bed, eyes vacant, body limp, unresponsive to voice or touch. He was admitted to hospital on multiple occasions, totaling around 10 weeks, hooked to oxygen tanks, monitored by staff, and treated as a gravely ill patient. Some general practitioners were convinced enough to certify his dire condition. Each time officials tried to bring him to court, the message came back the same: impossible. The defendant was comatose, paralyzed, unfit to plead or appear. For nearly 2 years, the ruse held. Court dates were postponed. Justice stalled. Behind closed doors, however, the truth was far different. Surveillance would eventually reveal the deception. Police observed Alan moving freely when he believed no one watched. He went on shopping trips, walked through supermarkets, drove a car, and continued to take the luxury family holidays that he loved so much. The holidays posed a problem though. How could a supposed quadriplegic drive a caravan across the country without raising alarms? Alan and Helen devised a simple but clever plan. Helen would hitch up the caravan, climb into the driver's seat, and pull away from their Swansea home. To any watching neighbor, it looked like a caring wife taking her incapacitated husband for some fresh air or a rare outing. But once they were safely out of sight, further down the road, away from familiar eyes, Alan would take over. He'd slide into the driver's seat, grip the wheel, and drive the rest of the way himself, enjoying the open road like any able-bodied man. It was a routine they repeated for multiple trips. Helen starting the journey to preserve the lie, Alan finishing it to savor the freedom he'd stolen. For a while, it worked. The couple once again laughed through seaside towns, relaxed in Dorset fields, and made memories funded by deception. Alan felt untouchable. Then the cracks appeared. Police, investigating the fraud, traced the family's Tesco club card usage. The transactions painted a picture of a man very much on the move, with shopping trips across Britain, stocking up for holidays. Officers pulled CCTV footage from multiple Tesco stores, capturing Alan walking down aisles, pushing trolleys, and chatting casually, far from the bedridden invalid he claimed to be. The decisive blow came at the Severn Bridge toll on the M4 motorway. As the couple returned from one South Coast jaunt, cameras recorded Alan clearly behind the wheel of the caravan, driving confidently and in high spirits. The footage showed no trace of paralysis, no wheelchair, just a man enjoying the drive. Confronted with the evidence, Alan's house of cards collapsed. He initially doubled down in denial, but the CCTV was irrefutable. The holidays ended, the caravan was seized, and the money was gone. Alan's grand escapes had been built on a neighbor's suffering, and in the end, a few frames of CCTV brought the whole charade crashing down. In 2014, Alan pleaded guilty to the original 19 counts of theft, fraud, and forgery. In sentencing, the judge described his actions as unscrupulous and selfish. Alan received 4.5 years in prison for the fraud offenses. In 2015, Alan was sentenced to a further 14 months in prison for the conspiracy to obstruct justice, and his wife Helen was imprisoned for 10 months for the same offense. The elderly victim, already robbed of his financial security, had been further victimized by the drawn-out denial of resolution. Alan's dramatic performance had not only evaded justice temporarily but had mocked the very systems meant to protect the vulnerable. In the end, the man from Swansea who pretended to be locked in a coma was exposed as fully awake, fully mobile, and fully responsible for his crimes. Multiple news reports from 2014 and 2017 stated that it was believed the bank had reimbursed his victim following the fraud, but this is not confirmed. Please like and subscribe for more true crime, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section.